Hey everyone, I'm Master Sergeant Jacqueline Marshall from the Wyoming National Guard Public Affairs team here in Cheyenne. So I'm going to bring you something a little different here on the Wyoming Military Department Now podcast. So there's been a movement across the country to give Vietnam veterans the welcome home they never received over 45 years ago. This movement encourages Americans to thank Vietnam veterans, shake their hand, and tell them, welcome home. So earlier this year, on March 26th, we honored veterans across the state of Wyoming at the annual Veterans Welcome Home event. I traveled by air with Wyoming's Governor Mark Gordon, the Adjutant General of Wyoming, Major General Greg Porter, the director and chairman of the Vets Commission, Tim Shepard and Jake Jacobs, and Erica Lejersky, senior policy advisor for the governor. Today you will meet amazing veterans from across our state and hear their stories. I personally have an interest in this. I feel it's important to document our veterans in the hope that their voices can live on for family, friends, current service members, and even our younger generation. We're just about to get on the governor's plane here in Cheyenne.
And observe the seatbelt, no smoking signs.
Our first stop is Rock Springs. So this is exciting. We just landed in Rock Springs, and we have a group of American Legion riders standing outside with flags to welcome everyone.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good. Tim Shepard.
Max Olge.
Hey, Max.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Yes, sir. You know my wife. Are you right, General? Good. Yourself? Good. All right. I've got a 2020. How you doing?
So the riders are going to escort our vehicles to Post 28. It's the American Legion here in Green River.
All right. I have two vehicles.
So we just arrived in Green River. It looks like a large crowd has gathered outside, and it's pretty packed here.
Hey, Sherry, Tim Shepard.
So inside here at Post 28, there's a lot of veterans and community members here. It's a pretty big turnout. There's a color guard standing by at the front door. It's made up of Boy Scouts, probably no older than 12 to 13 years old. It's nice to see the younger generation getting involved in events like this.
Thank you for being here on March 26th at 8:30 in the morning. This is a wonderful crowd we have. Thank you so much. The day of welcoming, March 30th of each year. It is with pleasure the great state of Wyoming recognizes your service and offers thanks. Veterans become an embodiment of those morals and values which we should all strive to attain as both individuals and communities. For all those who have served a cause greater than themselves during an era.
Would the audience please rise for the presentation of colors? Color guard attention. Color guard forward. March. Color guard post. Color guard reform.
There's two girls from the community that will be singing the national anthem today. I can tell they look pretty nervous, but I'm sure they're going to do a great job.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars.
Governor Gordon speaks to the friends, family, and veterans that have gathered here today in Green River.
Well, it is a good morning in Wyoming, and it is a good thing today that we are here to welcome home all of those who have served this state. I can see a very stark reminder of why your service means so much to those who are young and with us today. We have tremendous liberties because of what you all have to do to defend those liberties. Thank you for your service, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart and from the people of Wyoming for your service. Thank you.
Major General Porter speaks to the crowd, and he talks about how important service is and welcoming home our veterans.
And while we're going to celebrate here on the 26th of March, this welcome home ceremony, it is intended to recognize that all those that served in Vietnam. We also want to thank everybody, though, make sure that all of you understand that your service is not taken for granted, and that we appreciate and must have men and women such as all of you to continue to serve. As a nation, we learned a terrible lesson in how not to treat our retiring heroes from the return home from Vietnam. You served, you and your family sacrificed, you fought, you protected, and you made the hard one. We are here today to thank you for that choice, to thank you for your families and their sacrifice, to tell you that in so many ways how your services impact our country. You bore the brunt, you learned the lesson that we have committed to ourselves, that we won't repeat with our returning warriors. Not only were you heroes for a generation, but you are our teachers, our mentors. You taught us that it's often to be luckier than good, but a little preparation helped make your luck. Heck, you even taught us how to build a gourmet meal out of a sea ration. My favorite is pound cake with chocolate frosting. I want to make sure that I thank you personally, particularly the families of those heroes that didn't make it home, our prisoners of war and those missing in action. We still search for you, and we will continue to honor and remember you. Thanks isn't enough, could never be enough for heroes such as you. On behalf of those currently serving, thank you to the people of Wyoming. You are consistently and constantly supporting the men and women who wear this uniform. There is not a city that I go to where I wear the uniform that someone does not come up to me and thank me for my service. That is the nature of Wyoming and the people here. From our governor to our representatives to the mayor to all of you, you always render respect and love those that have served before. It is truly a special place that we live in, and I'm privileged to serve with you. Thank you all for joining us here today. Bless our veterans and all those that have served. Bless our families, and bless all those that currently serve our state and nation. Thank you for being here with us today.
So the ceremony is wrapped up, and I'm looking around for some willing veterans that will talk to me. My goal at each of these events is to capture the voices of our Wyoming veterans. So there's a gentleman over here I see has a lot of ribbons, and it looks like there's a purple heart on his tie. I'm going to try to interview him.
Can you just start out by telling me your name?
I'm Earl McDonald. I'm right now I'm the district commander of District 4 of Western Wyoming of the VFW. Well, I was an Army medic. I did Vietnam for the full tour, and being that I was drafted, I was only expected to be there 2 years, and I figured that was just enough. I was pressing my luck as it was by the time I left Vietnam.
What's your hometown? Is it Green River?
Well, actually, I came out of Nebraska. I was younger, but Green River has been my home for about the last 60 years. Primarily, I was in Fort Lee, Virginia, the Kenner Army Hospital. I was Army Corpsman, the hospital medic, and then later combat medic. Favorite part of the service? Going from one part of the country to the other, doing my training and actually seeing the country, visiting the people.
So, from your perspective, being an Army veteran, what does service mean to you?
Well, being an American, it comes with a cost. It comes with a price. In that you serve. You be an American, and you only perpetuate the ideals that someone ahead of you has set up. If you don't continually...
This can be an emotional question for veterans. I can tell Earl's getting a little choked up here.
Pardon me. This is one of them deals where it bothers me to see the younger generation right now who has no respect. They care only for themselves, and they figure people serve them. And by being a veteran, we can see this. And it needs to be taught in school. It needs to be reinforced in that we serve as a group, as a whole, not as an individual. And hopefully the younger generation will realize this, and we can only hope.
Yeah, and do you think events like this help at least your community?
Yes, yeah, actually, this reinforces it. Especially you have the scouts right now. Right now, they can see that patriotism means something. People I like the idea that people start realizing that a veteran is someone who was there and served for them. But during when we got from Vietnam, that situation was reversed. We learn as we go along. We learn as we age, and hopefully that situation will never happen again.
Todd Zwickel. I was in the Air Force for 22 years.
Where was your duty station when you were serving?
Oh, I was everywhere. Yeah, like 11 years overseas. I went to Torrejon, Spain, Bitburg, Germany, Camp Darby, Italy, Edwards, California, Kunsan, South Korea, Ramstein, Germany, Kirtland in Albuquerque, and then deployments to Qatar, Kuwait, and Afghanistan. My hometown, well, I live in Rock Springs, but I'm originally from Nebraska.
So what was your favorite part of serving?
Camaraderie with everybody, and just, all the mix of cultures when you go overseas and stuff, and how everybody just works together. And yeah, I don't know, just the meeting people everywhere you go, it's just phenomenal. Well, so I've served on Honor Guard several years and did a lot of funerals. So these are a little bit more uplifting, because you get to recognize people who are still with us and everything, instead of seeing the other side of it, when people are coming home the other way. So these are neat. These are really neat. And just giving the recognition to the older guys, like from Korea and Vietnam, it's just, you can see that it really lifts them up,
So what does service mean to you?
Oh, wow. So many things, but just being there for your country, really, putting yourself out there.
My name is James Mahana, and I served for 35 years.
Where was your duty station when you were serving?
Da Nang, Long Binh, and then Saigon. Well, I was a military policeman. My favorite part of serving was military police. I was AWOL apprehension, and I used to travel around the state of Arkansas, Oklahoma, and the panhandle of Texas. I brought back 584 prisoners in about an 18-month period.
So when I was active duty, I was stationed in Altus.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we used to, that was just right below us from Fort Sill. Yeah, that's where we brought the prisoners.
Fort Sill,
Yes.
So what do events like this mean to you as a veteran?
Oh, I think it's great because when we came back from Vietnam, we weren't appreciated at all. But I stayed in because I believe in this country. Right now, I'd like to start a 70th brigade for everybody 70 and over so we could still fight. Because I can still shoot the pimple off a gnat's butt at 100 yards and make it hurt.
Yeah. All right, one last question.
Okay.
What does service mean to you?
It means a livelihood. It means that we came from a military family and we're the backbone of the nation. And I would do it again all over. But I just want to say especially that for my daughter with her and I being in the same theater at the same time. You usually hear dad, son. This time it's daddy, daughter. And I love her for that. And I just thank her for her service. Yes.
Awesome. We thank her too.
My name is Robert Perry. I served not quite 3 years in the active Army before Vietnam. I ETS'd, and then I had a 17-year break in service, and I missed it a lot. So I gave my country another 10 years in the Army National Guard, and I was privileged to serve with a lot of people, most of whom aren't with us today. But one or two you've already interviewed. Mr. Mahana, I don't know if I'd believe anything he tells me or not, but he told me I should come up here and talk to you, so here I am.
Okay.
I live in a very small town west of here called Granger. I did a lot of training at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and at one point they looked at my ASVAB scores and they said, this young man can be a radio operator. So they sent me to radio school, and shortly after that started, they got us all together one morning and they said, all right, when you gentlemen leave this school, you will all have critical MOSs. And somebody says, what does that mean? The guy in charge said, well, there's an Army-wide shortage of radio operators, so you can probably pick your own permanent duty station. We're going to pass this piece of paper around. Write down your name, and where you'd like to go. So I thought about it, and I said to myself, I've never been to Europe, so I put down Germany.
Oh, nice.
And the Army, in its infinite wisdom, when I got my orders, assigned me to the 25th Infantry Division in Schofield Barracks, Hawaii.
Not Germany.
Not the last time I looked, anyway. So I spent 2.5 years there. Then I decided that I probably ought to get some more education. And when my 3 years were up, I got out, went to college. I don't know if I got any smarter or not, but
I'm sure you did.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. But as I said, I had a 17-year break in service, and I missed a lot of things with the military, so I decided to enlist in the Army Guard, and I spent 10 years. 7 of them I was assigned to a firing battery in Rock Springs, and then thought it was time for a little change, and I applied for a position as a warrant officer. Was selected, so you can fool some of the people all the time. And I spent the remaining 3 years assigned to a detachment in Laramie. So that's where I was and for how long.
Oh, that's awesome. So what was your favorite part of serving?
I think, when you get to favorite, then it becomes tougher because there were so many things. I think the the comradeship I had. I was making a contribution to my community. I was doing something, it interests me that now you read the statistics and they say that 1% of the general population.
It's actually less than 1% now.
I believe that. So it was, in that respect, I'm sort of a unique individual.
So as a veteran, what do events like this mean to you?
Oh, they mean an awful lot. You look around the room, there are people who have done things I have not. I'm older than dirt, but I look at like these fellows over here. I am not a combat veteran, but I think a lot of times because of my obvious age, people say, "Oh, you're a Vietnam vet, right?" No, but I sure appreciate them. I sent most of my crew over. I ETS'd about 3 weeks before my unit started deploying. One of the things that really warms my heart is that I have looked at the list of names on the Vietnam Wall, and none of my guys are there. I am pleased that at least some of the training I gave them apparently didn't send them home in a body bag.
They're home and alive.
My name is Dwayne Pacheco. I'm Rock Springs Police Chief.
Okay. And can you tell me how long you served and what branch?
Sure. I was United States Air Force. I was an Air Force Security Police Law Enforcement Specialist. I served for 20 years. I was 4.5 years active duty at Ellsworth Air Force Base, and I served the rest of my time at Hill Air Force Base in Ogden, Utah.
And what's your hometown in Wyoming?
Rock Springs.
So what was your favorite part of serving?
Being part of something bigger than who we are, and just serving my country. I always knew I wanted to serve my country. I didn't know what I wanted to do as far as the job. The Air Force picked my job, the 28th day of basic training, as an open general recruit, and I grew to love the job once I learned the craft and I was able to get on with the Rock Springs PD. I've completed my 31st year. I'm retiring this year, but I would go over 32 years in August of this year.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you as well.
And continue that
Absolutely.
service in the community.
Yes.
So, as a veteran, what do events like this mean to you?
They mean everything to me. For the governor to come to Southwest Wyoming and to show his appreciation to our veterans, and to think that we didn't have that support in the 70s, so hard for us to understand. It's just like what's happening to law enforcement right now, and it motivates me to do better, to show that we're not who people say law enforcement is, and that's what I think our veterans are feeling as well. Those veterans that came back and couldn't wear the uniform with pride. I wear my Air Force uniform and my veteran status with pride every day. The military, just like police officers, the police field, is hard to recruit qualified applicants. A lot of people say they want to be, but can you pass those rigorous tests and the screening to get in? You know that as well as I do. And so to get those qualified applicants, these types of events, we're growing our next veterans with our Boy Scouts and our Webelos and our Girl Scouts and all of those young members of our community that are showing up. And then seeing Grandpa and being recognized by the governor, that's a big deal. Service means to me is putting your country, your community before yourself. And really that's what it's about, because every day that you go to work, you get paid the same regardless if you work 8, 12, 16, 24 hours. It's an entire mindset. And, after 9/11, I was activated for a year from my work as a citizen airman to go back under presidential orders, active duty. And believe me, going back from civilian to active duty was all encompassing, and that feeling that it's so overwhelming, and you realize that, guess what, it doesn't matter how many hours I work, we're dedicated to the mission, and that mindset, people that haven't served do not understand that, and it's okay, they shouldn't, but we understand.
So we're leaving Green River, and on the way out, the Boy Scouts want to get some photos with our leadership and the governor.
Just like when I was in the Army, waiting on the brass.
Vincent. Hi,
Nice to
Vincent.
meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for
You're
your
awesome.
service.
I remember, well, I was a Cub Scout. 3 years. 3 years? Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Wyoming Military Department Now podcast, our special edition on Veterans Day. We welcome you to stay tuned for part 2, which we'll be releasing tomorrow. Thank you.